Check out the new Click video on Top 10 Must-to-Watch Horror Films of 2018. Welcome to Click. Before you begin, we publish new videos every day so that you can subscribe us for the most great content. Last year was officially the biggest year on record for horror films, with scary movies accounting for more than $730 million at the domestic box office. Movies like Get Out, Split, It, and Annabelle, Creation all obliterated their budgets, with each one exceeding $200 million around the world, and Happy Death Day passed the $100 million benchmark. In other words, 2017 set an extremely high bar for horror, but 2018 is looking well stacked too. While it might be hard for a single film to threaten its global haul of nearly $700 million, entries from the Insidious and Purge franchises should help pad returns in a year that will see the return of Halloween, with the blessing of John Carpenter, and the first superhero horror movie of the current super era. That rising tide of potential blockbusters will continue to lift the little horror ships too, with art house options from around the world bringing fans plenty of demons, witches, vampires, ghost stories, and revenge sagas, along with prestige options from auteurs like Lars von Trier, Steven Soderbergh, and Luca Guadagnino. Here's a look at 10 of the most anticipated horror films of 2018. It's a packed calendar already. Mom and Dad, here's one for your winter blues. Selma Blair and Nicolas Cage star in this crazies on meth movie about parents all over the world snapping en masse and suddenly trying to kill their children. The early reviews have been pretty good, and the first trailer is as bananas as the plot description. A Quiet Place. Who doesn't love a good novelty premise? John Krasinski and Emily Blunt star in this kind of creature feature about a family living a post-civilization chic life, replete with healthful dinners and game nights. Everything is extremely quiet and peaceful, that is because there are entities outside responding to the slightest rise in decibel levels, and if they find you, they'll rip your house down and kill everyone inside. With its all-encompassing silence broken only by harsh, inhuman bursts of sound, A Quiet Place should be a sensory thrill ride. The new Mutants. How thrilling is it that one of the most anticipated horror films of the year is a canon installment of the X-Men franchise? Director Josh Boone said last spring that he was working on something very, very different from your average comic book movie, adding, "We are making a full-fledged horror movie set within the X-Men universe." The first trailer did not back down on that declaration, delivering a tease at a full-on haunted house movie with a bunch of young mutants trapped in some kind of twisted care facility. Maisie Williams and burgeoning genre queen Anya Taylor-Joy will star as Wolfsbane and Magic, respectively, along with Charlie Heaton and Alice Braga. Perhaps we have Deadpool to thank for proving that very good superhero movies can behave very badly. Die Hall, Cold Hell. Austrian director Stefan Ruzowitzki won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film with 2007's The Counterfeiters, and since then he's taken a few losses with 2012's Deadfall and the second turnaround Patient Zero. But he's returned to acclaim with Die Hall, which follows Ozc, a Turkish immigrant cab driver in Vienna from an abusive family who has to confront a daily barrage of sexism and racism from her fares. She also beats the hell out of dudes for recreation at a kickboxing gym, and ends up channeling all that rage and training into a vigilante manhunt to take down a serial killer torturing Muslim female sex workers to death. At just 91 minutes long, it will likely be a relentlessly brutal ride. Hag Azusa, A Heathen's Curse. Austrian filmmaker Lukas Feigelfeld makes his debut with this folk horror tale, which gets its name from an archaic term once used to describe witches and female demons in the Middle Ages. Albrun is an orphan goat farmer living in the Alps in the 15th century and an object of torment for the nearby villagers. Albrun is haunted by her mother's voice calling to her in the dead of night, and her tormentors live in fear of pestilence, evil spirits, pagans, and other forces people considered evil in the 1600s, like Jews and women who live alone. One villager does take a shine to Albrun, however, but it's with dark motivations. To say more would be to spoil the slowly unfolding dread of Hag Azusa. The Laplace Demon. The French physicist Pierre-Simon Laplace once said, "An intellect which at any given moment knew all of the forces that animate nature and the mutual positions of the beings that compose it, if this intellect were vast enough to submit the data to analysis, could condense into a single formula the movement of the greatest bodies of the universe and that of the lightest atom. For such an intellect nothing could be uncertain and the future just like the past would be present before its eyes." This movie is based on that theory, focusing on a team of scientists who believe they have cracked the formula postulated by Laplace. They're invited to the mansion of a renowned, reclusive professor who traps them inside and forces them to solve their way out. Get ready to do some mental unpacking for this extremely imaginative first feature from Italian director Giordano Gilevi. Ghost Stories. Stories is an adaptation of a stage show of the same name, with creators Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson serving as co-writers and directors on the film version. Nyman plays Professor Philip Goodman, a rationalist and celebrity paranormal mythbuster compelled to investigate 3 cases of unexplained phenomena, and visit the men who experienced them. The encounters are then revealed to viewers through flashbacks, and for the first time, Professor Goodman might have to admit to the existence of supernatural influence in his highly logical worldview. If you just want some good old-fashioned ghostly frights, keep an eye out for this one. Revenge. French director Coralie Farge's first feature debut to acclaim in the Midnight Madness section of last year's Toronto International Film Festival, and it will arrive to assault viewers on the streaming service Shudder sometime in the first half of this year. Revenge is a sledgehammer of a rape revenge movie, but with a twist, after the main character, Jen, is raped by her boyfriend's buddies. She gets away, nearly dies, and then wills herself to survive for a mission of retribution. As much as a story catalyzed by sexual violence can be tastefully presented, Farge's film is. It's also pulpy and grindhouse-y, and boasts the most novel use of nudity since Eastern Promises. On the heels of Julia Ducournau's Raw, it's another example of young French filmmakers forcefully pushing women to the front of genre cinema, on both sides of the camera. Tigers Are Not Afraid. Described as a dark fairy tale, Tigers focuses on a young girl named Estrella, who joins up with a gang of orphaned children after her own mother is claimed by the gang violence destroying the slums of Mexico. In order to escape the reality of drug wars, political corruption, and human trafficking, the kids cope through fantasy and storytelling. But are Estrella's visions truly just imaginary, or does she have a connection to a world beyond her horrific reality? Tigers and its director, Issa Lopez, have been winning awards at film festivals all over the world for her third feature film, which is one of the most unique and anticipated suspense films of the new year. Vampire Vader. Vader the Vampire. Thomas Burke wrote, directed, and stars in this unconventional tale of the recently undead. Vader is a good Christian man and a farmer who's going through the motions while living with a mother who constantly gives him grief. He longs for more in life, and finds his whole existence upended after meeting a vampire who claims to be Jesus. But is being a vampire really the adventure he wants to undertake for all of eternity? This Norwegian micro-budget is receiving praise for putting a fresh twist on a very well-worn story, and it promises many affronts to religions and good taste.